Video will cover questions 4 through 7 of Stanier's Essential Coaching Questions list. These are questions to ask your mentee to really get them thinking and get those wheels turning without any unintentional leading or guiding. Let's jump right in. What do you want is considered by Stanier to be the foundation question because it lies at the very heart of adult-to-adult relationships and discussions. The heart of this book even is where the simple but potent question lies: what do you want? It's the embodiment of allowing your mentee to remain an adult during your coaching sessions, allowing them to take responsibility for their own freedom, even though that's notoriously hard to do. This question will usually come after you've done some synchronous activities with your mentee and laid the groundwork of the coaching mantra, and now you're ready to help your mentee build some plans. Instead of taking over and telling them what you think about the work you've just done, ask them to summarize it and then ask them what they want. By asking this question, you're inviting your mentee to define their desired outcomes and goals. It encourages them to clarify their aspirations, enabling a clear focus on what they genuinely want to achieve. By articulating their goals, your mentee will gain clarity and direction, making it easier to develop career plans and build that professional pathway. Stanier's lazy question, how can I help, will make you more useful to your mentees while working less hard. So in this case, being lazy is a good thing after all. This is a question you can ask all throughout the coaching program. The minute we begin to think we have all the answers, we forget the questions. You should be continuously asking your mentee what they need and how you can support them without offering up your own ideas first. This will prevent exhaustion on your end and frustration on your mentees. There will be many times when people, especially your mentees, pop in with a question or request for help. Before taking charge and giving them an answer or doing the work for them, ask them what their thoughts are or what they could do. The power of how can I help is twofold. First, you're forcing your mentee to make a direct and clear request. Second, it stops you from thinking that you know how to best help and leaping into action. It's a self-management tool to keep you curious and keep you lazy. This will prevent falling into a rescuer role with your mentee and prevent them from falling into a victim role. This question empowers the mentee to recognize and communicate their needs for support and assistance. It demonstrates the coach's willingness to provide guidance and resources, fostering a collaborative partnership. By offering help, the coach establishes a supportive environment that encourages the mentee to seek out their own answers first. Don't be afraid to say no either. You have your own responsibilities and tasks to take care of as well. If you're saying yes to this, what are you saying no to? This is considered the strategic question because Stanier's favorite definition of strategy is choosing what not to do. This question should be asked when a mentee is dealing with the 3 Ps: projects, people, and patterns. I'll talk more on the 3 Ps later on in this training app. This question highlights the importance of choices and trade-offs. It first asks your mentee to be clear and committed to their yes. It brings the commitment they're agreeing to out of the shadows, and you could even bring this into sharper focus by asking, what could being fully committed to this idea look like? But a yes is nothing without the no that gives it boundaries and form. There will be 2 types of no answers that you'll uncover here: the no of omission and the no of commission. The no of omission applies to options that are automatically eliminated by saying yes, like agreeing to attend to a meeting would mean you're saying no to something else that's happening at the same time. The other no will likely take the conversation deeper by figuring out how to actually create the space and focus, energy and resources that you'll need to truly do that yes. It will transport your mentee into the realm of priorities and force them to look at how everything they want to say yes to can be accommodated. While you don't want to tell your mentee outright whether to say yes or no to something or someone, you can encourage them to stay curious before committing. What was most useful or valuable for you is considered the learning question because it's the second loop in the term double loop learning. The first loop is trying to fix a problem, and the second loop is creating a learning moment about the issue at hand. That second loop is where people pull back and find the insight, and new connections get made, and your mentee can have that aha moment. This question is so valuable as a coach because it's your job to create the space for your mentee to have those learning moments. This question should be asked at the end of each coaching session. This question hits the nail on the head by taking action in 6 ways. It assumes the conversation was useful. It asks people to identify the big thing that was most useful. It makes it personal. It gives you feedback. It's learning and not judgment. And it reminds people how useful you are to them. Answering what was most useful or valuable for you extracts what was useful, shares the wisdom, and it embeds learning. If you want to enrich the conversation even further and build stronger relationships, you can share what you found to be most useful about the interaction as well. That equal exchange of information will strengthen the social contract you have with your mentee. In conclusion of this section, let's review the main takeaways. First, you should treat these 7 questions like a roadmap that leads you to new destinations, because every one of these questions you ask your mentee will help them dive deeper, uncover more information about themselves, and get to the core of what they want and how they can get there. Next thing to note is that you should make these questions a habit. Integrate them into every session you have with your mentees. That way you never miss an opportunity to allow them to share and encourage them to take action on what they can control. Once you use these questions enough, they'll become second nature and frame the way in which you conduct your coaching conversations. And lastly, I have to mention something that seems obvious but is super important. These questions and your mentees' responses to them mean nothing if you aren't actively listening. Become an asker of questions and get comfortable with silence. Give it 3 or 4 seconds even. I know you'll be desperate to fill the void, but usually people need a moment, or 3, in order to formulate the answer in their head before speaking it. Bite your tongue and don't fill the silence. It will feel uncomfortable, but it will create space for learning and insight.